Hello my friends and welcome back. Let's continue talking about the suit designs of Kamen Riders with Kamen Riders Drive, Ghost, and I guess we'll also tackle the Amazon Riders now, because there's not really a better place for me to talk about them. As always, each rider will have a minimum of 1 suit and a maximum of 5 suits on display, those being a proto form if they have one, a base form, upgrade, super, and final form. And all suits will be on a ranking from 1 to 5. Without further ado, let's dive in with the suit designs of Kamen Rider Drive. I could talk about Drive's pre-tire form as a proto form, but honestly, it's shown so, it's not even a form. It's just a part of the henshin sequence, so I feel like that would be weird to talk about as a proto form. So we'll just dive straight in with Drive's base form of Drive Type Speed. Type Speed's a pretty good form overall. I like the red. I really like the helmet. The helmet is the best part of all of the Drive suits. I'm just going to say that right now. The tire across the chest is a little funky. Obviously, it's asymmetrical, which isn't my favorite. But even then, it adds a little bit of unnecessary bulk to the center of the costume. And for some reason, just like the undersuit feels particularly weird this time around. But I can't really elaborate more on why I feel that way. It just feels artificial, I guess. Anyway, moving into his first main upgrade form, we have Drive Type Wild. And I like Wild a little bit less than Type Speed. I think the red just pops a little bit better. The tire on the shoulder is an improvement over across the chest, but it just feels even more glaringly asymmetrical than across the chest, which is a bit more subtle. Not a bad design, just not a fan favorite in my books. After that is his super form of Drive Type Formula. Remember Ryuki Survive and how I said that it looked like he had a car driving through his chest? Yeah. Type Formula has an actual car driving through his chest. And it looks dumb. It's dumb. And not in the ways that I like. The tires being on his wrists is great. I really enjoy that. The helmet with the goggles that you pull down for when you're driving an F1, that's great. It's just the fact that there's an F1 car driving through his chest, and it looks stupid. Even if it was just, we have the stickers and we kind of have it pointing out a little bit, could have been fine. But it's got a whole spoiler on the back. It's just not a good design. After that, we bounce back pretty quickly with his final form, and that is Drive Type Trideron, which is based on his actual Ridermobile and merges into this design. And I actually really like that. The car theme is even more present here. It's a little too red. It's very red. I think that if they had a little bit more of the black, and obviously have it be symmetrical, but I think it's still a pretty decent design, and the helmet is obviously great. So overall, pretty decent design for Drive. After that, we move into his secondary rider of Kamen Rider Mach, or Maha. And I really like Mach's suit. The helmet, being able to pull it down like a bike helmet, is a really fun touch. I like the white and the red and the little bits of light blue. Those all go really well together. The shoulder tire is a little bit odd to me, but I still actually really enjoy it. And of course, it's got a nice scarf, and I really enjoy scarves. It's a nice callback to the Showa Riders. After that, we get a bit of a downgrade with his super form of Mach Dead Heat. Now it has the shoulder tire, but also the asymmetrical drive tire, and the weird beard created by the spoiler being down there is just odd. The undersuit is still there, and it still looks fine, but it's just, the chest plate and helmet just don't work on this one. His final form is Mach Chaser, though, and I actually really like this suit. The addition of more blue And then the purple and red with a gray undersuit actually plays very nicely. I think it all flows pretty well. It is more or less just a repaint of his base form, so I wish there was a little bit more change to it, but it's still a nice looking suit, so points there. After that, we get our pseudo writer of Machine Chaser, and I really like Machine Chaser. I like how it looks very cobbled together, very artificial. The purple and the black and the silver bits all over it look very nice. It's cluttered, but in a logical way. After that, we get Super Machine Chaser, which I also really enjoy. The gold bits flaring out from the suit is a very nice touch and overflowing power. I think the gold maybe clashes a little bit with the purple, but not too much. It still looks pretty nice in my opinion. Following that, we get Kamen Rider Chaser. And I really like Chaser's suit. I like the gray, it goes with the purple. The few nods that we get to Machine Chaser in it are very nice. I like how well they flow together. And it's now a much more sleek, elegant suit, but with just a few touches of what came before. And I really like that. Following that, we get the bombastic wonder that is Kamen Rider Lupin. Lupin is a terrible suit, and one that I love. He's got a top hat for a helmet. You can't tell me that that's not great. 'Cause it is. It's the best. Obviously, the red and all the gems everywhere shouldn't work. I wish that it wasn't the red. I think a different color would have looked nicer. But it's still just a very fun suit, and I really enjoy seeing it. Following that, we get some throwback suits to the Showa era with Kamen Rider Sango. And I really like Sango's suit design. Obviously, it's very inspired from Ichigo and Nigo, but with a little bit more of a darker blue. And I really like it. It feels a little bit more modernized, but it still looks pretty nice. Following that, we get Yongo. And Yongo's got a pretty decent suit too. The helmet is very nice. I like it. And the rest of it is kind of just a pilot's uniform, pilot outfit, adapted to be a Kamen Rider, and that's really fun. After that, we get Gold Drive, which is the villain for the season. It's just an evil version of Drive that's gold. Nothing really spectacular beyond that, though. After that, we get Dark Drive, which really is just it's the drive of the future if the future was Tron. There we go. That's how you speak. But I really like this suit. I really enjoy the Tron aesthetic, and so I think combining Drive and Tron was a very nice touch. After that, we get Kamen Rider Heart, which is a combination of one of the main villains, Heart, with Drive-type Triton, and I think it works out pretty well. It's got a nice bit of long coat out of Heart. I like some of the other pieces. The only thing that doesn't really work well for me is the big monster horns on it. I get why they're there, but it's just not a fan. It's too bulky on his head for no discernible reason. After that, we get Kamen Rider Brain, which is also a very nice suit. I really like the green playing along with the rest of it, and the helmet is very nicely sculpted and just does a lot of more fine-tuned things, I think, that work very nicely in its favor. Overall, the drive suits are pretty good. I really enjoy them on the whole. I wish that the tires had a bit better placement. Also there was Proto Drive, it's a prototype form of Drive, and I don't even know if I will count Kamen Rider June. It exists. But overall, the drive suits were great, and I really enjoyed seeing them. However, our next season, I've got much less good opinions about, with Kamen Rider Ghost. Kamen Rider Ghost does have protoforms. These are the transient suits. They really are just what happens before they get their hoodies on. And Ghost Transient is fine. I mean, it barely exists in the show, so meh. After that, we get the base form, which is Ghost Ore Damashi, and it's bad. The hoodie just doesn't work for me. It bulks the suit out in a lot of weird ways. The orange that they use on the hoodie itself just is weirdly too bright and it doesn't look good. If they'd used the helmet orange, it would have looked better. The horn is really big for no good reason. And it leaves the legs oddly barren. And so it's just this very mismatched suit and just doesn't work. Following that, we get Ghost Boost Damashi. And it improves slightly because the red and black works a little bit better. I like the flare eyes, but it still doesn't fix the problem of the legs being too barren. And I just don't like the hoodies. I'm gonna say it. The hoodies were a dumb idea for Ghosts. Why? Following that, we get actually my favorite suit of the season, which is Ghost Grateful Damashi, because it doesn't have a hoodie. It's really nice. I like this gold. I like this black. I like how it's got all of the heroic icons all over it. The helmet is ridiculous and should have been used as a weapon at some point. I really just wish that he had head-bonked somebody. Would have been great. But, you know, Grateful Damashi was a great suit. After that, we get Ghost Mugen Damashi, his final form. Or as I like to call it, directly stealing from Wizard Infinity and still managing to mess it up. For reference, here's Wizard Infinity, here's Mugen Damashi. They didn't really... It frustrates me so much. Because instead of having a very sleek, elegant, nicely balanced, but still stylistic suit like Wizard Infinity, they just threw infinity signs everywhere and said, yeah, that's good enough. Also, let's make his horn have rainbow powers. No, the weird clear bit that goes over the mask is weird. And just the weird translucent element could have worked. Because that would be like, oh, it's a ghost. It's kind of see-through. That would have been cool. But it's glittery. And so it's not see-through. It's just glitter. And it just... it's disgusting. It's a bad suit. Moving on to his secondary rider. Kamen Rider Spectre has a transient form. It's basically Ghost Transient, but there's blue instead of a little bit of orange. Woohoo! Moving into Spectre's base form, it's a little bit better than Ghost Ore Damashi, just because the blue isn't as terrible as the orange. And that's coming from me, the person that wears an orange blazer. But... After that, we get Deep Spectre. Deep Spectre exists. I mean, there's too much going on. It's way too cluttered. This is a form that needed to take a chill pill. But the color balancing is nice. It's just a bit too much. Spectre's final form is Sin Spectre, which is its take on the Mugen Damashi suit. And it's pretty much just as bad. Maybe a little bit better, but not by much. Just a blue Mugen Damashi, and it's just still just as bad. After that, we get the third rider, which is Necrom. Necrom Transient is, again, it's a little bit different this time because it's got the white and it's got some green on it. And it's the best transient suit, which isn't much to say. But Necrom also has the best base form. I really like the black with the green. His helmet is really cool. I like how it can be slightly menacing for when he's a villain in the series, but it also is still heroic enough for when he does turn to the good side. So it's got a nice balance of duality to it. And, you know, it looks like Ben 10, and I like Ben 10. It was a good show from when I was growing up, so maybe I just like it for nostalgic reasons, but I always liked Necrom's suit. It's the best base form. And Necrom Yujo Burst, which is his final form, is also pretty good in my opinion. Similar to Super Machine Chaser, it's just added gold flares to it that are just exploding out, and I really like that touch. The helmet, especially where it's got the gold going up around his regular horn, looks very nice in my opinion. I think that it just accentuates all of the right things about Necrom's or Spectre's base suit. Following that, we get Dark Necrom P, which is basically the Necrom suit if we took out all of the color, made it just an entirely black suit, and then had a little bit of pink detailing on it. I don't get it. It doesn't look very interesting. I mean, I guess kind of because for the shadowy idea of like, oh, they're ghosts, they're hiding in the shadows, so let's have an all dark suit, but it still doesn't work. After that, we get Dark Ghost, which is honestly, again, a pretty decent idea overall of just a purely white and black suit for a ghost, because that's just very simple, sleek, could have worked if it didn't still have the stupid hoodie. I hate the hoodies so much. And yeah. Following that, we get Kamen Rider Extremer, a suit that tries to do too much, and almost succeeds in looking good still. I think the helmet on this suit is actually really good. I think the big white shoulders are pretty interesting, and the long cloak just all over it is an interesting idea, but it's not my favorite form. It also feels oddly similar to Kamen Rider Sorcerer from Wizard, which makes me sad because I also loved Sorcerer. All of these suits just try and be Wizard, and they just can't because they're just not good. Hoodies are not the same as long coats. Next we have Zero Spectre, which is Spectre but slightly purple and has 3 horns instead of 2. Delightful. Next. Alright, next we get the trio of riders for the season, which are Dark Necrom R, Y, and B. It's like Dark Necrom P, but it's red, blue, and yellow instead of pink. Yay. Anyways, yeah, no, the ghost suits are my least favorite in the entire franchise. They had so much potential to do interesting stuff with historical figures being used as the powers, and they completely squander it across the board with dumb hoodies. So, yeah. But next, let's talk about the way too edgy in an attempt to be mature direct-to-Amazon Prime series, Kamen Rider Amazons, or here in the States, Amazon Riders. Our first suit is not technically a rider form, actually, but this is Amazon Omega Origin, which is like a proto-form, I guess you could say, for Amazon Omega. I actually really like it. It's a monstrous take. All of these suits are slightly modeled after the Showa era Kamen Rider Amazon, and just trying to make them look more modern and threatening, I think is the best way to put it. But Amazon Omega Origin is a pretty decent suit. Very monstrous in appearance. Following that, we get the actual Amazon Omega, and I really like this suit as well. I like the green with a little bit of yellow, the shoulder claws, or arm claws, not shoulder claws. What am I talking about? And the helmet looks nice. Following that, we get new Omega, which I think is trying a little bit too much. The chest with all the silver and black is a bit too cluttered. I get what they're going for, it just doesn't work for me. Following that, we get Amazon Alpha, which is probably the closest suit we get to the original Amazon. The red is really nice. I really like it. The lines across it to show that it is wild, as it likes to say. But overall, it's not bad. Not a great suit either, though. Following that is Amazon Sigma, which is basically just Omega Origin, but we gave it a belt and now it's all gray. So still a pretty decent suit, just not visually interesting, I guess. Following that, we get Amazon Neo. Neo is a very decent suit, I would say. I like the blue, I like the red flying up from it. The silver is balanced pretty nicely compared to New Omega, and overall it does look pretty decent. Our last suit for the day is Amazon Neo Alpha, which is a very military-looking rider suit, which makes sense. But just the dull greens of like the military aesthetic don't look interesting to me. Keep in mind, all of these Amazon suits are what they look like without the filter that the show is shot in. The entire show is shot with like a sepia tone filter, so everything is already super muted color-wise. So all of the colors up until now have been a lot more poppy than they do look in the show. In the show, they are all just very muted and drab because edgy. Woo. Overall, they do actually have really good suit designs in Amazon Riders. It's just that they were trying way too hard to be edgy and mature when they were so far off from what actually making a mature show would be. It's just very goofy to watch, and it's a trip. But overall, that is the suits from Kamen Rider Drive, which I really enjoy for the most part. Kamen Rider Ghost, which I very much don't, and Kamen Rider Amazons, which I'm somewhere in the middle about. Next time, we will dive into the further suits of Kamen Rider Ex-Aid and Build, two seasons that have a lot of riders and a lot of suits of their own. So I will see you guys then. Take care, my friends.